creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And always on this side of the screen, there's always a comedy of errors. Just before I went live, I had a bottle of pop because I was feeling my throat was a little parched. That bottle of pop fell, and with me sitting in the dark, I picked it up, decided to open it up, and it sprayed. And so there was a little bit of a problem on my end of the screen. Sorry about that. That's those are the behind the scenes things that happen when you're just here by yourself trying to get started and such in live streaming and stuff. Yeah. All right. So, Shice, it seems like a good time to back big changes because none of us have ever read, let alone played the game, right? So if you're streaming it, that is in line with the Prime Directive rules-lite. Yes. So for those who don't know, this weekend I was about to upload. Basically, I've been writing behind the scenes and then wanted to upload a number of materials, documents, things like that. And I kept having to write another document to explain another thing and another piece of information, explain another thing. I'm not ripping it up. No. Yeah. And King's like, yeah, editing your own work's the fun thing. Yeah, Drew says there also says there is the saying in design of fail faster, and thus I had quite a few iterations of my own design. Yep. Yeah. So what ended up happening is I went down a rabbit hole of writing more and more to explain, and I had to stop and go, what the fuck am I doing? Wait a minute, hold on. You can't keep explaining more and more things and explaining more and more things. So I took a step back and looked at it, and I have to share with you a let's see if I can. Is it here? No. Oh, so of course the core elements are here, but I was like, there's got to be an easier, simpler, much more refined way to explain what the hell I'm trying to say instead of just using more words. And I'm a very wordy person by nature. So in terms of like explaining things and things like that, and that makes for horrible elevator pitching. So I said, well, this all makes sense, but I might have to drop something that I really like. So let me let's give you a visual here. I like how this the visual here is just, I guess I used a template for like a real estate flyer or something, and it still says it. Anyway, this is a can't really see it. So this is an updated version of the character sheet. Now, the reason why I'm a very visual person, and man, I am dry. I'm diabetic, and there is a tendency to have like dry mouth because fluids run out, or our kidneys are trying to flush out the sugars and things like that. Okay. Woo. So many times in tabletop role-playing games, we turn to character creation, and character creation kind of walks us not just through character creation, but what the hell the game is about. And it gives us an insight as to what the game is about. And I wanted to have as many. The character sheet is almost a template for what to expect, what the die rolls are, what important information is needed, and to make another character, because I'm going to end up making another character sheet where a number of these things are deleted, and you're just going to have the information as to like what is it and where is it, and things in the margins and things like that. But I want to work on a basic character sheet, and I'm also a design individual. I was like, okay, well, there's got to be a easier way to explain this. And so, what the heck is happening here? All right, so let us begin here with the thing that everybody is used to, and then go to the thing that go to the thing that people are not used to. All of this is essentially, all of this remains exactly as it was before. Comments here in the chat. All right. There we go. TA. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Trying to get the chat. It's very odd on my side. I don't get to see it when I'm moving this up. All right. So all of this is essentially the same. We still have our attributes, our three main attributes, force, flex, and fulcrum. Force goes first, flex goes second, fulcrum moves third. They mean, in the narrative, means what it says. So force is very direct, flex is kind of balanced, and fulcrum is a measured action. And initiative, this is how initiative is done. There's no rolling of initiative. So if you take an action with force, you go first. If you take a flex action, you go second. Fulcrum goes third. It's simultaneous initiative. All actions that happen first are disseminated first, and then the results are done. Everyone that acts second, everything is done second, and then it's all the results are performed, and then everything that goes third goes third. So an example is if a character is using force and they're up against an enemy that acts first, and they shoot each other, they could literally shoot each other and die. So it's simultaneous initiative. And when I say simultaneous, it's not like we are talking simultaneously. It means that all I don't know, let's say you're acting second, all actions that happen happen second in the initiative order happen simultaneously. So if a character wants to aim at someone or dive behind a building or hack a computer or whatever, they do that, and we find out whether it's success or failure or anything in between. And the enemy then gets to act, and all actions that happen simultaneously are done as if the other person hasn't acted yet. Then all those things come together. So yes, two characters could literally blow each other away. Approaches are exactly the same. You pick three, and this is because this is a 2d12 singularity system. We would be rolling 2d12, and you pick one attribute and one approach, and you try to, the system is roll high, not over. So if you have like a flex of 4 and a careful of 5, you want to roll high, but not over your score. So strive is going to be different. It's going to be extremely low number. And essentially that's the level of your character. So every character begins with a strive of 1. And then if you happen to have 3, your strive score is base strive score is 3. That means you're like a 3rd level character. And you burn your strive, which is a real word, but it's also stress plus drive. That's when you do something extraordinary, and each character type can do something extraordinary. Now we're going to get into the part that I wanted to change. So you guys remember that I have like the baggage gear system, which kind of still remains. Pockets, baggage, gear. So I realized that initially I had, let me move back up here. So I was like, oh, well, your strive, you have a number of points of strive that's equal to all the points of your flex and fulcrum. And then you had pockets, which are equal to how much strive you had. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's too many similar things. Can't we boil this down into something simple? So right here, let's see if we can see all of it. Let's see if we can see all of it together. There we go. Right in the middle is your core conviction, and all of this around it are your building blocks. And that is your character. That's this is what makes up who you are. In a posthuman world, most role-playing games have like your physical stats, your mental stats, your emotional stats, maybe social stats and things like that. And that's what all of this represents. Zipper, threads, jackets, traits, ties, treks, all of that, and your core conviction, all of that makes up who you are. And these are all called your building blocks. And the building blocks of your character make up who you are. And you can see inside these, there's like 3 hexes inside of each one of these. And whenever you suffer a loss, which in this game would be similar games would be like suffering damage. Whenever you suffer a loss, and a loss can come from social interactions, it can come from exploration, it can come from outside sources or pushing yourself to your limit, you may lose one or more of these. So as I said before, force goes first, flex goes second, fulcrum goes third. But sometimes you may accidentally or fully fail in an action. You try to be very forceful, but it doesn't work. You try to use a balanced flex action and it doesn't work, or you try to use like a more considered, cultured, um, high impact, low effort thing using fulcrum. Well, whichever one of these you use, first acting first, second, or third, you will lose. It's possible you will have a loss of the inverse of that. So if you use a force action, you may lose all three or a complete building block. If you use a flex action, you lose access to two. And if you use a fulcrum action, you may lose access to one of your one chip off your building block. And that happens when you are in under stress. So you try to, I don't know, you're trying to convince the guard to let you bypass something. You may lose temporary access to one of your building blocks right in here. And this is all going to be natural language. I'll tell you what natural language means in a minute. So if you use a balanced, more, I don't want to say careful, more considered action for fulcrum, you may lose just access to one of these little hexes in here. And there's 3 hexes inside. As you pick and choose what you want for your character, you can put them in nearly any of these little building blocks. So you could spread things out. So you are, there's no direct threat to what's happening to you. You could spread everything out. You could stack them into, I don't know, one section of your character sheet, leaving the others open so that if you suffer a loss of anything, it won't have that much of an impact on your character. This is all going to be open to player characters. You can make the building block of your character the way you want to, and it will describe narratively what's happening in the fiction when you start suffering a loss. So instead of calling it damage, it's basically going to be called a loss. Let me see what you guys have to say if you're following along. Shai says, I wish Ander took such a critical look at his own stuff, because his accelerated immersive role-playing thing was supposed to be rules-lite, but when I got down to editing it, found it confusing. Fuck, yeah. Because I do the same thing to myself, right? So, yeah, trying to... Sometimes we need to edit the things that we have in our own games, and I wanted to make it a little bit more natural language, and I wanted to make it a little easier to describe. And so telling someone that, like, this is your building block and this is who you are, and when all of this that you're going to write down on your character sheet are your hit points. So what you are your hit points itself. There won't be a number, so you won't have a number that describes what your hit points are. All of the traits of your character are your hit points. So what the hell will we be writing into these building blocks? Well, of course, you're going to have a conviction. And I changed the names of the convictions too, yet again. You guys are brilliant. And let's see if I could write, show you what I wrote down for the convictions here. Because you guys are awesome. Let's share this tab instead. Yeah. All right. So convictions right here. So they just happen to all begin with an E. So I decided to leave them all with an E. Last week, I think Taste of Benat was like, well, why don't you use harness? And it wasn't wrong for what was said. It was just like, I was like, but it doesn't begin with an E. How can you have 5 things that begin with an E and a 6th one begin with the letter H? Sorry. So the convictions are explorer, extropian, expansion. It should actually be explore, not explorer. So explorer, extropian, expansion, excellence, expression, and enterprise. Woo, are the convictions. That's like your alignment system, if you have to put one. And that's your conviction right in the middle. So you are motivated. This is your conviction, what you're motivated to do. And when all of your building blocks are gone, you are struck in your conviction. That is the very thing, the very nature that motivates you. So guess what? That means you have to change your conviction. You may be in a life and death situation, or your character may actually die, which is a temporary action. And then that means when you wake up, your convictions are altered. They've been challenged, and you kind of have to change it. And what ends up happening is you can never pick that same conviction again. So you have six convictions to move through, and once they're all gone, your character permanently is retired. So you basically have six lives. That's how that's going to work. So explore means that you want to physically explore the solar system, or you may want to explore the human nature and things like that. Extropian is a desire for building and life extension. So you want to build, help, heal yourself and others, and build for the future. Expansion is exactly what that sounds like. You want to expand your native culture. You want to expand your horizons and help other people expand where they live. So you want to expand habitats, expand travel, expansion of ideas, however you're living. Excellence is excellence in yourself and helping other people become excellence. It's very internalized. Becoming more brilliant, becoming physically stronger, becoming more meditative, becoming more aware of your surroundings. It's basically making yourself stronger, faster, tougher, smarter, more socially adept, things like that. Expression is about the arts, expressing a voice for people who don't have a voice for themselves. Song, music, politics, expressing ideas, and allowing the smaller voice to become just as loud as the largest voices. And then enterprise has been changed from exploit. So enterprise is like business, extracting elements, using resources, creating, well, basically creating government where there isn't one. It's gathering people together to work together to create a one singular development or force or mega structure or something of that nature. So that's what enterprise is. So those, your convictions, getting those out of there. Let's go share this tab instead. Yeah, Shitlord says maybe you should start with a long description of the setting to get people immersed before you go to rules dump. Yeah. Yes, you are correct. There, I'm working on one pagers. Let's see if I can show some books here. Jesus. So you guys know that there are. I'm trying to figure out how to describe these books. So here's some examples. Like here's a Mukbore or Morkborg, as this specific role-playing game has been called. I know there's a specific way to pronounce these two words, but the role-playing game, as it is in common parlance, is Morkborg. And then there's another version of this called Castaway, about being on like a deserted island and piracy. And then there's you can't even see it. There we go. Cyborg is another one. And I have Shadow Dark, and there are these small books that I'm design wise and descriptive wise are using very few words to tell a lot of information. And so I'm working on one pages to describe to describe the setting. So you are absolutely correct there, shitlords. Yeah. I'm not away from that. I'm not against doing that, and I am working on it, but it's like again, creating a Heartbreaker RPG, killing your darlings is the process I'm going through, and I'm just doing it out loud, speaking it out loud. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I get you there. Yeah. Shay's like, yeah, that wasn't a diss on Ander, by the way. Within the Ring of Fire is awesome. I agree with that. Especially like the 77 Thrones book. But anyway, I was just overwhelmed by the onslaught of information. I agree. And it's very difficult to do that, right? Like when our instinct is to over explain, because as in our tabletop role-playing experience, we're brilliant people and we want to give people as much knowledge as possible. But sometimes we need to shut the hell up, and I'm working on that myself. Yeah, I had to go back and was like, wait a minute, maybe I should just shut up and let this thing happen. And so that's what I've been working on. Um, so what is natural language in role-playing games? Um, there is a tendency for us as designers to come up with words and phrases and then explain what that word and phrase means. So an example would be armor class. So a person who doesn't play role-playing games may somewhat understand what armor class is, but it doesn't mean what it sounds like. So armor class, we know it's like, well, it's a modifier from your dexterity score, plus it's modified by the armor you're wearing, and you roll dice to see if you hit or miss. But that's not really what it means, because you don't really hit or miss your opponent. It's more like your weapon or armor might deflect off of what the person's wearing, but that's how we describe it. And it's a whole big thing, right? And then you're like, well, doesn't armor mean that it's blocking a thing, but it comes across like that's not what it seems like it does? It's a whole big thing. And I was like, wait a minute. No. We got to go back to natural language. So, remember I said the words and phrases are going to be your hit points. So when you fill in, I used hexes because it's very sci-fi. Hexes in here with like your threads and zipper and things like that. You guys know that a zipper is your zip drive and your jacket is your body. That will be explained. It's just the slang. I thought about getting rid of it and just putting like mind and body. I'm still debating whether I should just put mind and body and just use and relegate zipper and jacket back down to slang. So I'm not sure yet. I'm still debating that, and that's gonna be up to you guys. I'll let you guys decide. So here's the question. The question, and I'll even put it in the chat. Let's see. Do we keep zipper and jacket on the character sheets? Question mark. Oops. Or replace with like mind and body or some form of thing like that. All right, so and just consider it. You don't have to answer it immediately, but just think about it. So natural language. So each one of these spots will be filled with a single word for natural language. So let me go past zipper and jacket. Let me go down to something a little bit more closer. So we got traits. You can't even see it. Jeez. We've got traits, treks, and ties. A trait is something unique about your character. Maybe you are alluring or brilliant, muscular, acrobatic. Maybe you are perceptive or vigilant, something like that. And there's going to be a list of these that you can pick from. It's a D12 system, so you're going to have like 12 of these that are possible. So you're going to put one of these traits. And remember, with character advancement, I said you get +1, add 1, +1, and change 1. So when you get to add 1, you may be able to add a trait. So maybe your character is very charismatic, or a public, like it'll be a single word, like charismatic, quick, graceful, beautiful, charming, something like that. That's like more social. Maybe something physical, like I said, muscular, tough, enduring, whatever. You're going to have that trait, unique trait, and you're going to write that down, and that represents a single point. So maybe your character is threatening and acrobatic or something of that nature, and you're going to write that down. And if it applies to any role that you ever make, that means you get to add a +1. So, and using natural language, you can say, hey, listen, and you answer when you were playing the game, we're going to answer it this way. Because and then you answer that with anything on your character sheet, you gain a +1. So you can say, well, because I am tough, because I'm tough, I should get a +1 to resist choking gases. Well, yeah, of course, that makes sense. Because I'm charming, when I talk to the guard, I'm I get a +1, right? Yes. And instead of, you don't even have to ask permission. You can just start to grab some dice, grab your 2d12, and say, "Hey, listen, because I'm charming and also threatening, and because and we're going to go over to ties and treks and things like that. Also, because I was a soldier, because I have these 3 traits, I'm going to get a +3." And that's how the natural language is going to work. And the reason for using natural language is my game may be different than your game. And so as your character advances, when you go through character advancement, you're going to write down in here the very thing that describes what your characters have gone through. So in my game, it might be Black Ops, and it's a lot of sneaking and assassination and spy work and blah blah blah. And so um, the traits that are gained by the characters are going to be natural language single word traits that are going to fill up these spots. And those spots are going to describe who you are and what you've done. So your very actions as you advance are going to be the bonuses you get when you engage in the rest of the world. And those are also going to be your hit points. So the more traits you tie in, the more hit points you gain, which means there are more things that are threatened, which means when you lose them, those are things that are going to come off your character sheet. So the words we use are going to fill it up. The adventures we have are going to fill this up. The way you make your character is going to fill this up, which is also going to represent how many points of damage you can suffer, which starts to reduce it. So you will suffer losses, temporary, some of them permanent. And as all of these start to get chipped away, at some point, you're going to hit your core, and that's going to hit your conviction. And that's where we get into our death spiral. So let's see what you guys have to say, if that's a good explanation. Drew says, because I am hot, I take a bonus to resist the cold of space. As funny as that sounds, I may even give you the bonus just because you slow clap on that one, like, yeah, shit, yeah. But yes, yeah, and King says, Trek might get you in trouble. You're going to get fleeced by Ferengi contracts. Yes. So the Trek, if you using natural language, I can modify this as I want. So this is closer to mind. And this one is, let's see, closer to body. And I'll tell you what threads means in a minute. So we've got like mind, body. So mind is kind of things we've learned. Our body may be, if I'm in a mechanical body, if I'm in a biological body that has modifications to it, it's going to be written in there. And then, and we have things like ties. Trek traits are unique things about me that might be different than you. So I might be vigilant or alluring, whereas your character may be hot and sexy or I don't know, threatening or tough or something like that. Treks are where we've been. So treks could be urban landscapes, mountainous landscapes, the vacuum of space, zero gravity, aquatic realms, and these are going to be single words that we get to write into these places. And those single words, there's a reason why I'm saying natural language is single. You're going to write them down, and then you use those again to benefit yourself. So if you're having a gunfight and you wrote down like zero gravity, and by the way, the reason why I'm saying single word, you're going to find out why I say single word. Hyphenating a word or blending 2 words together is a cheat to make one word. So zero gravity can be written down as one word, or firearms is one word. What's something usually that sounds like 2 words, but public speaking. Public speaking, if you hyphenate it, is considered one word. You get a bonus of +1. So treks are where you've been. So a trek might be a planet like Mars, Saturn, Jupiter. It may be specific environmental locations. It might be urban. It could be different habitats. You're going to write those down into here, and then ties are your people, places, and things you are tied to. So ties are like your connections. It may be like memorabilia you have. So you may have a tie to Mercury, or you may have a tie to the military, or you may have a tie to a political faction or something of that nature. And you're going to write those in. A single word gives you a +1. 2 words give you +2. 3 words give you +3, and that's as much as it's going to be. So an example would be during the course of the adventure, let's say you write down in Trex, you just write down mountains. That's going to be what you're going to write down here, mountains. So, or you know, crags, or craters, or light gravity, or aquatic realms, swamps, whatever. Doesn't matter. We collectively, hey guys, there's going to be a list. I'm going to write this down in my Trex. I'm going to put mountains in here. Now, the game master, the spiral, which I'm probably going to change the name of that. The game master may say, hey guys, you know, you guys did pretty good on this adventure. You know what? Let's add a more specific feature to one of your. This is like a gimme, like a reward system, and say, you know what, because there was this adventure on Olympus Mons, the largest mountain on Mars. Write down Olympus Mons on your character. So underneath mountains, we're going to write down Olympus or Olympus Mons. So you're going to get +1 in any other kind of mountain, but you're going to get +2 because you have 2 words for mountains of Olympus Mons. Now we can get even further. Like you could say something like, I don't know, like mountains on Mars from the Tharsis crag or something like that. And so if you use 3 of those, you get +3. So you can get, you know, so you may have a tie to the criminal underworld. That might be one. You may go further and go criminal underworld in the Jovian system. And then we can go to number 3, criminal underworld, the Jove, Black Sabers. I'm just making that up off the top of my head. So if we write 3 words in here, you get +3. You got 2 words, is +2. You got 1 word, is +1. So the number of words is going to be your bonus, and make it very natural language. And again, these are going to be things that are going to build your character, which are going to be completely unique to everyone else. So not only will you be building your character as you adventure, it is also a memoir of what adventures you've taken along the way. So you will have written down in your character details about Mercury, details about the Oort cloud, details about the Jovian system, details about Mars that you've written down on your character sheet to describe where you've been, what you're doing, what you're good at. And then that becomes a bonus for your character. So maybe your character never had any experience with the underworld. You went to the Jovian system. Now you had experience with the underworld. Boom, you're going to write that down on your character. But there's this criminal organization that's really been a focus of a game, the Black Sabers. And so you're going to maybe write down Black-Sabers and write it down. And that's going to be your second word. So you're going to have, like, in this hex, you're going to have underworld and Black Sabers. And that's going to be on your character sheet. And everyone knows you have some kind of tie to them. They're going to be hunting after you. They're going to complicate your life, things like that. And also when dealing with them, you get a +2 because there's going to be 2 words. Maybe there's someone in the Black Sabers that you have a relationship with, a rival, a romantic individual, someone who hates you, who's hunting you down, a bounty hunter, and their name is Gregor. And Gregor is going to be written down in there. And so whenever you are dealing with the underworld, dealing with Gregor, while Gregor's a member of the Black Sabers, you get a +3 against Gregor, right? That's super hyper specific, but it almost is like a punishment for the characters. Hey, I'm going to write this on my character sheet, but it's a benefit to you to do it. So natural language. Boop, 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 boop. Shai says, I have a fever. Does that help you resist space cold? Yeah. Isn't space like insanely cold? Like no surviving it for a second? Actually, I think what happens is you can actually survive it for longer than we think you could. Yeah, you don't want to get into the minutia of hyphenation, do you? Um, I might have to do that because people may want to circumvent the rules, and so there's a cheat. You can just hyphenate a word because actually it actually works against you to hyphenate a word because it's just going to give you a +1. Sorry. CA says actually space is not cold or hot, but insulative. I never knew that was the word for it. Yep, yeah. During the day, the moon reached something like 200 degrees Celsius because there is very little wicking of the heat due to no air or water on it. Yeah, it's like apparently facing the sun, Mercury is insanely hot, and the minute the sun you go past the terminus and you're no longer in the sun, it instantly turns, not instantly, but the heat evaporates to the point where it's cold again and insanely cold. It's very weird. Yeah. So in terms of temperature alone, you can survive being in space long enough for the cosmic rays to get you? Maybe. Yeah. Instant cancer or something cooler than that? I don't know. There is. We're going to get to the cancers. Ugh, I don't know if we should make fun of it. We're not making fun of that, but we're going to get to that part too. TA's giving us dissertation on space. The real issue is heat buildup. Like imagine you are covered in a shaped block of styrofoam, so all the moving you do builds up heat and nowhere to dump it. Yep. You should also have 4 astronauts in the history of your lore who got bombarded with cosmic rays, but they just died after years of medical battles. Instead of the Fantastic Four? Shay says, because you can't just hyphenate any old words. Hyphenation is usually reserved for compounded adjectives. Just saying. Oh, yes, I can break rules as much as I want to. As much as we want to. I think you understand. I know you're being funny, but I think you'll understand what we're getting to. All right, so using numbers, using natural language to represent numbers, when character creation starts, there will be 12 of these little things we're going to fill in for a character. So and what happens is we can suffer a loss of just maybe one chip off of these building blocks or lose the entire building block. So let's say I have written in my body, like I've got a I don't know, a laser pistol hidden in my forearm, and you're going to write that down as like a cyber. Let's say my body, I've got a cyber limb in my body. My mind, I've got some kind of like psychic power or an AI in my brain. My core conviction, I've got some stuff written down here. I've got things written down in my traits and my ties. And then I get hit by something. Maybe a bomb goes off, or one of my dark secrets is exposed by my enemy, and now I'm in Saturn, and it gets broadcast across the news net on Saturn or what have you, and I take a major loss and I lose one of my building blocks. Then I lose everything within that building block and access to it. And narratively, we can describe why that is. And we may even the suggestion, and it's not going to be permanent, it is not going to be a rule, but the suggestion will be you lose access to the thing that narratively makes sense. So maybe you are accused of a crime, so you lose access to your ties because those are the people you would normally rely on, and they go, no, you've been accused of a crime. I don't want to have any relationship with you, and so they you can't rely on them any longer. So you temporarily don't have access to that tie. You've lost that building block, and you've got to get that building block back. The same goes for maybe down in Trex, right? Maybe you were, I don't know, you fell down a crag on Mars, and you have some familiarity with maybe being in Jupiter and Earth, Terra or Luna or whatever, but you fell down and you maybe you twisted your ankle or whatever, and you're stuck down in a crag and you don't have any communications, and this is why you lost this building block. And so now the panic of you with your twisted leg down in this crag and no one knows you're there, you decide to pick this building block to lose access to, and you're chalking it up to panic. Yes, I'm from Mars. I know what it's like, but you decide narratively, I don't have access to this core part of me, this building block that's part of my character temporarily. So now I don't get any bonuses for being from Mars or climbing mountains or something like that, et cetera, et cetera. Now, off on the sides here, if we go make the letter U, so on the left side, we have orbits, vians, and ducats. Ducats. Down on the bottom, we have data cores and two big bricks over here, two big squares for our data cores. And then going up the right side, we have bricks. And when we've got like, looks like plastic containers with a question mark. And these also make up some of the things that will essentially bring out what's part of your character. So bricks are minor rewards for what characters do. Again, slang term, bricks are sealed containers that people have put things in and sent them off into space. And the vast majority of them are very minor objects inside of them. But many of them have story time elements. And rarely you might come up with like a bar of gold, nuclear launch codes, the zip drive of someone very important, all kinds of little funny features that you might find in your bricks. Of course, here data cores are the game-breaking technologies from the great signal that was sent out. This is kind of background information, and data cores are very rare. It's much like finding a ring, finding the genie's bottle. It is like finding it's the technology that's usable once that breaks the conventions of Obsidian Star. So data cores have technological information about like wormholes and black holes and dark matter, and I don't know, chaos theory and dark energies and weak and strong forces and extra dimensional spaces and faster than light travel and so on and so forth. And then on the side here are minor losses. So during exploration and moving from place to place, we have, let me see if I can, I'm going to expand this out here so we can see. Let's expand this out even more. Just trying to center this. Can I center it a little bit more? That's about it. So we have our thing here, orbits. You guys have heard me mention time, energy, and resources. And whenever we are stressed, oftentimes the reason why we fail in something that we normally are very successful in is because we run out of time, energy, or resources. Sorry, time, energy, and resources in Obsidian Star are measured by orbits, which represents time, vians, which represents energy, and ducats, money, which represents resources. And ducats, you'll find out what all that means in just a minute. And there's a D12 attached to this. And just like before, when I mentioned this is a roll high, not over system, what happens is all of these are going to start very high. You're going to take 12 and divide it between these three things: your orbit, your vians, and your ducats. It could be vians if you want to pronounce it that way, and or your ducats, and you're going to divide 12 points between them, 4, 4, and 4, whatever. And orbits represents a period of time. Orbits are like ticking clocks, and your character may be going through. You may have a plan for your character to investigate in something, build something. Maybe technologically, you want to improve your weapons and armor, or you want to investigate a black market scheme, or get in good with a politician, or whatever. And that's going to be called an orbit. And an orbit is a ticking time that keeps going and going and going. And let's say you have an orbit of 4, and what you want to do is uncover who's the leader of the Black Sabers, a mercenary Black Ops squad that's against the player characters. And you've been putting out feelers. And so that becomes a project, a mission that your character is doing on the side, and you put down a number 4. Well, every time you suffer a loss as you're traveling, as you're moving along, this is a tool for the game master to add pressure to you. You're going to roll a d12, and what you're going to want to do is roll 4 or less. You want to roll high, but not over. You want to roll between 1 and 4. You don't want to roll a 5, because if you do, you spoiled the orbit. The orbit comes crashing into you, and that means all that investigation you went against the Black Sabers, they know it, and they're coming after your ass. Let's go down to here. Maybe in your Vians. Your Vians are the building blocks of you. So Vians represent food, water, nutrients, gravity, radiation, calcium deficiency. Wow, my brain just went. Calcium deficiencies, psychological, what would you call it? Like when you are alone in space, loneliness, depression, your mind wandering. It is insanity. These are your Vians. This is what you need to survive. And slowly, a little bit, humanity is not really. We as humans aren't designed to go out into the void of space. And this is like your fatigue, your exhaustion, your fear, some of your stresses that are happening to you. And again, zero gravity, radiation, calcium deficiencies. If you are living in a machine body, it is reboots. What else happens to machines? Viruses. You need to power down and power up your batteries, your oiled mechanisms, things like that. And so that's what it represents here. Let's say you have a number 4, and you've been traveling in deep space, and the game master can use this against you. You need to roll a d12, and you roll d12. You roll, oh, I rolled a 7. Damn it. That means you now have to stop and recover from whatever it is that is stressing you out in space. It could be exposure to radiation. It could be too much zero gravity. It could be too much high gravity under constant acceleration. Those kind of things. Those represent your Vians. And that means that it's coming after you. And ducats are money. Instead of everything having a dollar amount, ducats, ducats are basically the monetary system. And again, you might have a number 4 here, and you say, I want to rent an Aerodyne. I want to rent a virtual takeoff and landing vehicle, a VTOL vehicle, while we're on Mars, and I want to rent one. Okay, roll a d12. You rent you roll, and you roll a 7. So it doesn't mean you fail. You get to rent the vehicle, but you spend all your money doing it. Maybe one character has investments, and their investments are in mineral rights, and you just lose access to that. Maybe a character is wealthy, and they've been away from the boardroom for a long time. The boardroom's like, listen, we're not going to extend to you any money until you come back and explain where you've been. Maybe your character is black market, or you're a some kind of freebooter, or you're a nomad, and so you pull out like maybe some expensive ore, or you have navigation charts or something like that. So it represents your wealth, but not necessarily only money. It's kind of like your wealth, and you spend it when you roll the die. You have a 4 written down here, and then you roll it, and then boom. And what happens is every time you use it, it's going to decrease by 1. So all of these are going to keep decreasing every time you actively use it, or it gets threatened, until it just drops to 0, and then you're constantly being threatened by it. And also it can be a reward as well. You went to Mars, you befriended a faction, and that faction gives you bonuses. And so you went to the asteroid belt, and you helped the miners out there. You know what? Increase your ducats by 2, because the miners there are like, mining for platinum and uranium and things like that, and they give you access to that. So that's what that's about. Sorry, very long, and long-winded, but I wanted to show off some of these changes to how the game is being designed. These are just spaces to write things in. So you got spaces to write details about your mind. You have spaces to write details about your body. And then I will explain threads once I see what you guys have to say. Damn it. Drew says, my character was the leader of the Black Sabers in a past life. That actually sounds kind of cool. And yes, you could actually write that down on your character sheet. And then that becomes a truism. So yeah, real nanobots would have a lifespan determined by their battery. And also that may be a recovery, like Deadman's mentioning, like nanobots. Maybe your character has some kind of nano bots in your bloodstream, or you're a machine that's made up of nanobots or something, and you need to go someplace so that you can rebuild those nanobots. It's basically Decats are like, Vians are like your recovery. It's like it's part of your long rest if you want to make it Dungeons and Dragons like. TA says, could be something always included in nanotech due to fear of gray goo death or the paperclip prediction. Yep. Self-destroying nanobots designed to be capable of rebuilding anything, then they self-destruct. I was thinking that, nanobots universally are designed to have a limited lifespan. So you could have a nanobot factory. Let's, for example, in your body, you may have a nanobot factory that builds nanobots, but they are designed to basically through your human waste. Once they flow through your body, you get rid of them. And the reason for having nanobots have a temporary lifespan is because you don't want von Neumann's getting out of control, because that's a death for you and everybody around you. So yes, you von Neumann. I heard it pronounced Neumann instead of Newman, but yeah, the person who came up with the idea of like self-replicating machines is a big fear. You don't want to come up against that kind of stuff. Someone who is anti-charismatic might be more able to convince someone with anti-charisma points too, but how to figure out the positive or negative number direction? Oh, you mean like two introverts talking with each other have more influence with each other than an introvert extrovert conversation? I could see that. Hyphenation is reserved for spider and man. I like that. Yeah. Hyphenations are easy if your natural language you use would be German. That has so many compound words which can easily be hyphenated. Yeah, and sometimes we come up with new words that we just start hyphenating, or we just combine it together. Like here in the States, in American English, if you type in role playing, many things will self-correct you out of the word role playing with a hyphen or without a hyphen and just combine together. So yeah, even now we have systems that haven't kept caught up with like tabletop role playing, like role playing games, or is it like, yeah, role playing isn't, sometimes gets pushed into two separate words. Seems like traits should have negative aspects. So the more charismatic someone is, the more annoying they may be to some people instead of being influential. Now, I like that effect. And I think what might happen is, TA, you bring up a good point about like, what's a good example? Okay. Taylor Swift. I got to pick somebody famous. The Kardashians. Some other famous people, Tom Cruise, Jennifer Lopez. So there are famous people that some people hate just because they are famous. And so it also can make some people feel lesser. So being around someone who is tall and charismatic and beautiful and alluring and dresses well and rich and influential can make other people feel small. And there can be a little bit of self-hate, which makes us hate that other person. It makes us feel that way. And, so I like the idea of like putting it, it's not only it's going to be a thing so that the higher your bonus, the chance that you may have that you're going to bump up against someone who dislikes you and it actually has a negative effect. A good way of actually right off the top of my head, a good way of representing that is um, we could randomly roll a d12. This could be for the game master. Roll a d12. Whatever bonuses you are finding, if I roll equal to or less than that, then that bonus actually becomes a negative. So an example is if I get +3, the Ducats. Okay. So, and I see something else here in the chat. So if you gain plus, let's say your bonuses are +3 and I roll a d12 as a game master and I roll a 1, 2, or 3, maybe that NPC you're talking to, for some reason you just rub them the wrong way. So I like that. I like that a lot. Because I think the maximum bonus you can get is +6 because you're going to have two stats. You're going to have an attribute and an approach. So the maximum benefit you can ever gain in a die roll is a +6, +3 to one, +3 to the other. So with a 6, there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to rub up against somebody who just doesn't like you because you're you. Simply because you look too good and you bother me because you're also rich and powerful and threatening and you're everything I want to be. I hate you for that. Your skin is beautiful. I could cut you. Right? Damn it, you got a perfect smile. I love that smile. Damn you. All right. Drew I'm going to go back to a comment you hear, and then I'm going to go to N King's comment here. So thank you very much here. Before we get out of here, thank you very much, co-host. So Drew says my character was the leader of the Black Sabers in a past life, and I want space on the character sheet to represent that. And I want that to immediately be a numerical value you get to add to your character sheet. So I don't want a separate, like, I don't want a separate, like, oh, my character was a leader of the Black Sabers, but now it's not on my character sheet, but there's nowhere to represent it. I want it immediately to happen. And here's the thing. You could write that down anywhere on your building blocks. So with your, because the other comment in here was, by the way, jacket and zipper were great terms. I don't think simplifying them to mind and body is the right call. Okay, all right. Sometimes I don't know whether I should default to things people recall very easily. Mainly, for example, for lay individuals to understand what the hell's being said, or to really immerse ourselves using the language, the natural language within the setting to make you feel like what it's about. So using Drew's comment about being once being the leader of the Black Sabers, we can add that into the zipper, which is your mind. It's like these are your core skills, the things you remember. And if your zipper is forcibly or maybe it needs to be removed from the back of your head, it's your hard drive of your body, and your allies are like, damn it, our ally hey, Drew just got shot through the chest with a plasma bolt or something like that. Go get her zipper so we can go back to our starship or whatever. And someone takes out like a monoblade knife and carves it out the back of her head and then like sticks it in her pocket, blood stains everywhere. And they get back there and, upload her brain and put her into another jacket. Or maybe there's like a mechanical body you guys have on your starship or something. This represents your mind. So we could write down like, what would be a good way to describe this? Memory - Black Sabers, right? Or we could put down like, you could literally write in here, leader of the Black Sabers. And we could discuss like, should that fill a whole hex or maybe half of one or whatever? And I'm going to figure out how to do these things. But I think it would be very interesting to write that down, because here's the deal. During the course of play, remember, this is posthuman. Sometimes our brains are edited, our minds are altered. Sometimes we might get a virus in our brain, or we wake up 3 weeks later and we forget something. And guess what? You might lose access to one part of that building block. You might lose what I'm calling a chip off of a building block. So each of these 3 are called a chip. So you might lose 1, 2, or 3 chips. and you may forget that you were the leader of the Black Sabers. Boom, temporarily mark it off. I don't remember the Black Sabers. I don't even know who they are. But it's been 3 weeks, and well, maybe you weren't 3 weeks, you would still remember. So from 2 years ago till now, you remember being part of the Black Sabers, but then you went up, I don't know, you were fighting a giant robot. You went into a space habitat, and you looked at a digital file that Basilisk hacked you. I know Basilisk hacking is from Eclipse Phase, but just go with me. So you look at a computer program that hypnotizes you, and then you forget, and you don't have access to that. And there may be some other things in here, like you might have a cyber arm, and something happens to you, and you decide, yourself as a player decide, you know what, I'm a check mark that, I lose that. That becomes one of your hit points. Or maybe you're attacked by something, and I say to you as a game master, you suffer a loss of 3. Mark off 3 things on your character sheet you have no access to. And you go, you know what? I used to be leader of the Black Sabers. I'm going to mark that off. I have a cyber arm. I'm going to say it's glitching, so I'm going to mark that off. And down here in Trex, I was born, my character has like a home base on the moon, Luna. So I'm going to check mark off Luna on my character sheet. So I don't have access to that anymore. And like I said, it's temporary. When I say temporary, when you rest, you have to use your Vians, and you rest, and you start to recall things, or you reduce the stresses of your life, or you go into the nutrient bath and it heals your wounds, or you're a machine and you plug yourself into the fusion reactor, or you open up your solar panels or something like, and it's going to go back and forth, back and forth. You losing chunks of yourself, your building blocks. Each of these building blocks is equal to its numeric value. So each of these is going to be like a point, and then you're going to burn off your orbits, your Vians, your Ducats, your ducats, and things like that. So back and forth, back and forth. Drew's like, DU cats, digital universal cats, the money of the future. It is NFTs. There are NFTs. Yes, there is cryptocurrency in this thing. Yes. Nanobots did the WTC. I don't know what that means. Shai says, good point about Taylor Swift. I never understood why people hate her so much. It's just a normal, natural thing. It happens. People become rich, famous. They become I don't know why it's natural, but it is that way. Shai says, hey, she writes her own songs, plays solo acoustic. You don't have to like it, but at least she's an actual musician. Yep. Yeah, just hold on for just 2 seconds, guys. 2 seconds. Got to leave a break. My keys are in my black bag in the kitchen. Sorry, it's my shoulder bag. I'm sorry. And they're in the very first pocket. So it's hanging on the arm of the chair. Open up the very front first pocket, and it's tucked in there. Sorry, but I'm gonna get off of here. Sorry, guys, I had to step away just a minute. Life happens. Deadman says Basilisk hacks are a real thing. DBJ always talking to his cat. This is his wife. It's happening. So anyway, guys, wanted to show you some changes. I'm going to have to get out of here. We're running a little bit late here as always. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. I wanted to show you some the changes that are combining the rules and all that kind of stuff together and all that kind of business. So yeah, that's a real thing. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I just wanted to show this to you, show you about the design. I'm going to upload some more information as we get closer to it. But yeah. Just wanted to ensure that I let everyone see some changes that are happening. Essentially, the character sheet is going to explain almost how the game is done, and then like Shitlord said, like maybe I should actually tell people what the setting is about. So we want to see some of that as well, some of the elevator pitching of this game. But yes, long story short, the gear baggage system is still intact. It's just going to be natural language. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for allowing me to express this. Tomorrow is the day of the Black Sabers. Hey, why not? All right, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility. There we go.